Welcome to the Drupal usability meeting on January 23rd, 2026. Present are Simo Helston, Pallavi Singh, and Ralph Collar. And we've just decided to talk about issue number 3472822. Unclear how to choose between checkbox and radio buttons as form display widget on list fields. I quickly demonstrate the current state, and we also don't have any real merge request to discuss at the moment, even though there is one, but that was not really following the proposed resolution. Problem is, if you have on a content type a list field for text simply, I've simply created several options, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have basically on the field settings the cardinality with currently set to 1, and as you can see, if it's set to 1, you have basically the radio buttons. While if you change cardinality to, for example, 2, then it is getting changed to checkboxes. But problem is, if you're a site builder, not familiar with Drupal, you're setting for whatever reasons, let's say the cardinality to 1, and then you notice on the manage from display, you have for the listers field, as you can see here, the option select list and then the option checkboxes slash radio buttons. And in here, it is not apparent at all how to switch or decide which interface component to go by. So that's the basic problem that should be fixed with that issue. Any questions?
Just note, because it happens to be below published status, there we have a kind of a bit similar pattern, single on/off checkbox. So checkboxes, boxes slash radio buttons. So it's kind of boxes and radio are marked with slash, and on/off is marked with slash. So it's a little bit. So it's not maybe as such like on/off makes sense, but it's funny that it uses the same kind of presentation.
Interesting. I have to admit, I never bothered about the published. I simply took it as is, as checkbox, and that's it. And yeah, it's the Boolean totally fine, but yeah, looking at the radio buttons, now you have also an A option as well. Oh, interesting.
And what would it, if for some reason that text list would have only one option, how would it look like then?
Let's see.
Two of them are in use, so you can't remove all,
Uh,
limit only to one.
1 second. Delete. Oh, even more. Okay. Now remove one option.
Mm. Hi, I'm assuming Gareth has joined us. I'm used to seeing his name
Hi.
as written full, but that kind of looks like Gareth Alexander.
Yes,
Ah,
it is me. Hi. Sorry I was late, but I thought I would join and wait till you finish chatting before I said hi.
no worries. Hi, Garrett.
Hi.
We are looking at the following issue.
Oh yeah.
It's issue number 3472822. It's a follow-up to an issue we did a review on, and that follow-up issue originated in the other one. It's basically about, just to quickly summarize, the problem if you have a list field, like here, listers, and within there you have basically the cardinality on the field settings page. And problem is, as soon as the list page is created on the manage from display, you have the option checkboxes and radio buttons, but you have no indication how it's possible to basically choose deliberately if you want to have checkboxes or a radio button. You basically have to change the cardinality between one and two.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
with one, you have radio buttons. With two or more, you have checkboxes. And Simo just suggested to simply, before that, I had four options, one, two, three, four. And he suggested to reduce it to a single one. Should I change the cardinality as well or leave it as is with two? Simo.
Let's see what happens if the cardinality is more than options.
Okay, save. And now create.
Yeah, so it's one. Check.
More interestingly, but it's auto selected, even though I haven't set no default value.
Mm. And
Can you
if
un
all,
can you uncheck the required? Because
Oh, limit required, that might be lists. Yeah, okay, that was the reason.
okay,
But still, it's still odd to auto select basically the single option there.
and what happens with cardinality of one? Would it change it to radio buttons?
Yeah, it should. But again, the question is how it will look like.
Ah, and
Okay.
if one and required, then it is probably uh, and I think this part of because it can be a radio button, that I think that's why it auto selects it if it's required.
Yeah.
So this is the same with the checkbox. So
Yes and no, but isn't it odd? For a radio button, it's totally reasonable, but still for a checkbox,
Mhm.
because even though that selection is required, but still the question is, would basically the person filling out the form consent to check it?
yeah, so and that's something that's in some jurisdictions and some use cases. So there is a theoretical use case that somebody adds the first option for a list and decides that I want there will be later some additional. They know that there will be later checkboxes coming up, but there is only one and it needs to be checked. So kind of a different kind of terms and conditions maybe or something like that. And then if it would be just so somebody chooses to have a text list because they know that something is coming up later more, but they start with only one, and then that one is already checked. So it's kind of a not a very probable case, but it's possible use case. And then it would be not good to have it auto checked because it might be against some regulations.
Yeah.
So it should behave differently between radio buttons and checkboxes.
Yeah. One option. Two, cardinality. One option, auto checked. Potential problem.
And also if it's two checkboxes and two are required. Like, no, you can't have that setting. Yeah. It's only setting the maximum, not minimum.
Between checkbox. Yeah. It's tricky. Two. And required. It is still required, okay. And there the checkboxes don't get auto-checked.
Is it because if there's only one and it's required, it has to be checked, whereas this could be one or two, and only one of them is required?
I think this is also mirrors behavior of radio buttons. If there is two options, it's required. If also probably also with radio buttons, it's not pre-selected which one.
Yeah, for a radio button, this definitely is not.
Yeah.
But just from a checkbox perspective, having two options and a cardinality of two, strictly speaking, if you compare it to the cardinality of one and one option, analogous, it has to be also both checked. If the behavior should be the same, don't say I would agree. And if I do that, oops. Oh,
So two
oh,
are
it's a limit. Okay.
yeah. To have it required probably needs a custom validation code.
Yeah. So limit means it's the maximum, but it could be also just one or
Yeah.
two. Okay. Now I get it. Then the behavior is okay. I quickly, oops, add third again and the fourth. Okay. But yeah, the general question is still how to communicate and make it more clear how to get or make a deliberate decision if you want to have checkboxes or radio buttons in case you don't know it is controlled via the field settings.
The simple option would be to provide a link to help or documentation. But then the harder question is where to provide that link. We could add to that help text there that content items can be edited with different. We could add that something like some of the widgets depend on the allowed number of values, or something like sometimes the form with input element. That's too technical, I think, input. But sometimes the HTML element is depends on the allowed number of values, or is automatically chosen based on allowed number of values. But that would be a place where not so many people would look for it, for that information.
And here on the field settings underneath,
I was thinking on the
or
form
over here.
like on the top of it.
Over here.
Here we have already space for it. Uh,
Okay.
so here it's actually here you can define which fields are shown and hidden when and edit in each form. Define how the field form widgets are displayed in each form mode. So this is actually false information because that checkboxes radio can't be defined here. So it would be natural to at least add the information to that after that last sentence that for some widgets decision is made based on the number of allowed values.
Mm.
But then how do we call that checkboxes slash radio buttons? In Finnish, I would call it vaihtoehtoinen, but that kind of, for some reason, I can't remember what it's called in English. So it's kind of a either or. What's the word for that? It's not optional, but it's kind of a interchangeable. No, it's not that word either.
Yeah. But the problem I see is the help text rarely someone is reading, and then to make the connection between what you read up here to read down here, or if you read checkboxes, radio buttons down here, and then look to the help text, I'm not sure. It suggests the proposed resolution on the issue was basically in a similar vein, but in another context, is simply adding a description underneath here that basically the number of values has an effect on what form is visible, something like that. But that is also not that intuitive, to be honest. Anyone has other ideas? Um, how about the following? Let's assume you set a allowed number of values, a cardinality of 1. Now you get to the manage form display. If you not, instead of seeing checkboxes and radio buttons, you see basically select lists, checkboxes, and radio button as independent options. And due to the fact that as cardinality of 1 is selected, you see basically radio buttons pre-selected. And in case you select then checkboxes, that I'm not sure if it's technically possible, but how about if you select checkboxes and save it, that it basically updates the cardinality to 2, for example. But the problem is it would need a node, or maybe, oh, the option might be for the solution might be simply for checkboxes to provide that what's it called? That cog here, and that in there you're able to adjust basically the cardinality. So if you select checkbox and then go into that settings there, you see, for example, cardinality of 2, which
that's a big problem because you can have the same field as select list on one page and as checkboxes on another one or radio buttons on another one. So you can't have the widget change the settings for the field because the cardinality is kind of the site-wide and the widget is for mode only.
oh, okay.
But that would be a problematic so that you could accidentally change the cardinality for another widget or another form using the same field. So one field can be used on different content types and on different form modes for a single content type. And I'm not sure if a field can have different can it have different cardinality for different content types? But at least for different form modes, it uses the same field settings.
Yeah. But the problem, but couldn't there be a use case that basically a site builder wants no, but it's the same content type. No, what I'm trying to come up is basically the question is, could it be possible that someone is trying that on one page they want checkboxes or on one form, and on the other they want radio buttons for the same content type? Or no, basically, no, it's a view mode because in the content type, the field is always the same with the same cardinality.
Yeah, but you can have different form modes as well. So you can do different
Yeah.
forms for editor and one form. But then if you only allow one, then it does automatically change your radio buttons. But between select list and the radio buttons or select list and checkboxes, then you can have one form using one widget and the other using other widget. At some point, actually, there was, I don't know, did it go somewhere? There was this idea of having the like automated change from checkboxes to select list or something like that, depending on how many values there are. But that was, I don't know if that was contrib or if that was in some theme or that. I think we maybe talked about that in 2023, or 24, so quite a long time ago.
Yep. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that this is something that maybe we need to solve with help text, but the problem is we don't have a good place for the way to put that text. And it probably needs to be on both field settings and on the manage form display.
So on the manage form display, basically the only place, as you've already mentioned, would be the help text up there, because within the widget itself, only in case you have basically settings. Otherwise, there is no option for a node. While over here on the field settings, yeah, right underneath,
Yeah.
there it would be in close proximity and easy accessible, but one second. One option might, yeah, but in a proposed resolution, one option might be to simply add a description underneath the allowed number of values setting on the field settings and explain that if set to 1, the output will be radio buttons, while every other setting will result in checkboxes as the output. But that still leaves a problem with the ambiguous and unclear option checkboxes / radio buttons on the form display widget. For someone getting to the form display widget first on an already set up site, that is potentially confusing still, and yeah. yeah, the case you haven't set up the site, you get to it, for example, as a consultant, and you're not really aware about those facts and you only see checkboxes and radio buttons.
I think if you're a consultant, then you should know how to check it. They, but the is the manage form display and manage field settings, they are the same permission, so you can't really have a like a
That one is locked out from the managed fields.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
there is administrator form display is separate permission.
Indeed.
So there could be a case where user cannot check from backend whether or not which it uses.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to, if it's possible, to display that information on the administrator form display. Not able to change it, but to have it displayed as like similar to the text field size, to have it displayed as allowed values, but then not allowed to change it. And on the settings page, maybe inform the user that it should be changed from the different place.
On the managed form. Sorry. On here, you mean? Okay.
So similar to that text field size 60, to have allowed values 1, allowed values 2 for those checkboxes, to have that information displayed after that. And
Mhm.
and then it could have also information if it's allowed values 1 displayed like using radio buttons, allowed values 2 using checkboxes. But what does that text field size, the title, what kind of settings does it have? So I'm wondering if it would be a very bad idea to have that allowed values as a disabled field. That would kind of it would be kind of a show, and then with help text to change this value, you need to access the manage fields.
How about, even though it's sending mixed messages, but I like the direction is what you've suggested. If you have basically, let's say, the option is checkboxes slash radio buttons, and you have that cog, you click it, and then you see widget settings, and at the moment the cardinality is set to 2, and you see widget settings for checkboxes. And then, as you said, grayed out or disabled. I'm also unsure if it's 100% clean, or make it just informational or not a field, and simply say, yeah, two allowed values maximum, and then to change that, change the widget to a checkbox, go to the field settings, and field settings as a link where you can directly go to the field settings page that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think on second thought, a disabled numbers field would be still the most consistent approach, because you don't have on any other widget just text, and therefore it has to be a form in some sort. So, but would you then think it is still necessary to provide a heads up on here as well as a description?
Uh, I think here it's not. Then it's not really necessary, because then there might be somebody who only uses select lists, or might you even have some other custom widget. So this doesn't really care about the widgets. You could use this page even without using the widgets.
Yeah, but that's true. But still, it would be one additional round trip if if you're a new user, get to
Yeah.
that setting the first time, then you get to the next page. Oops, that's the wrong one. Again, the wrong one. Then you get to the manage form display. Then you see the checkboxes. Then you get in there
Mm.
the settings, and then you see, hey, go back to the field settings to adjust it to get to the other output component.
Mm. What does it say on the text list? Does it say anything about how it's about the input? Anything?
Over
Or
here.
or does it say something on the when you choose the field type?
There's nothing about the output. And I think that was one detail that got removed from the microcopy issue.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you're right. When you get to this point, if there's a bit of help text under there that says the you know, the number of values allowed may affect what widget you have available to choose from.
Yeah.
Actually, there is also no that just noticed that there is that allowed HTML tags in labels. That's probably also hard coded. It's same as with help text, so there is that included in it. It's that, for instance, big, which is not part of HTML5, and also some that are not recommended.
But isn't that one issue we discussed a few weeks ago?
Yeah, that's for help text.
Yeah.
So that's I just paid attention to that. It also the same list also is for labels.
Okay, okay.
Just said
Yeah.
it out loud. Not relevant to this issue.
Yeah, but agreed. Yeah, yeah. So to summarize it, in regards of the field settings, would we have a consensus to basically add a description underneath with a string to be discussed and found, informing the user that depending on the cardinality chosen, it will have consequences or an effect on which widgets are available for the managed form display?
I think so.
Okay. And on here, just one thought. With Simo's suggestion and idea to add basically widget settings, an option for widget settings, then wouldn't it be possible to circling back? Because I'm still not a fan of having that switch option posting both as an option label in here with checkboxes slash radio buttons. It's feels wrong. If you, let's say, oops, yeah, I'm in the wrong one. Let's say if you, instead of two, have again three and have dedicated option for checkboxes and a dedicated option for radio buttons, that in both cases for, let's say, cardinality is at 1 and you go to radio buttons, then you see basically that disabled field, and that is basically a radio button, and also the information if you want to change it to something else, you can go to the field settings, while in case you want checkboxes and you get on there and you set it, that you get some sort of requirement or an error, or that basically it needs basically the user to go over to the field settings to update it, but enable the option that you can choose a widget output that is currently not possible with the current field settings and cardinality on the field settings. Or would that be too complicated?
I think I prefer it, to be honest. I don't know how, I can't comment on how complicated it would be. I don't, yeah. it feels wrong to kind of have you've got radio buttons and checkboxes, but you can't choose which one.
Yeah. And also having that mixed message as an option and then showing what is used effectively in the settings feels also wrong. Therefore, that is the reason why I'm still ideating around having two options there instead of one combined.
And I think it would make it more clear that if you choose cardinality is one, that's why you get the radio buttons. Because here it still says radio buttons, even though they may not be available at all.
Yeah. But still, or maybe it still works if you have that mixed checkboxes slash radio buttons, and then in here you also see what is active. And if you then have two lines, in the first you say um, radio buttons, and in the second you say cardinality 1. And if you go click in here, then you get to the disabled field and the way pointing towards the field settings. So maybe, maybe my suggestion is it would overcomplicate things. And with Simu's approach with just those two infos there, it might be simpler and more straightforward. Even though it's a mixed message still here, the option. But any thoughts?
Hmm. Actually, I could see and agree with both arguments. I wonder if it's worth making the suggestion, but saying that it wouldn't be blocked if we give them both options, and then kind of saying both would make an improvement, and
Yeah.
then leave it to the developer that picks this up to try and fix it to choose which is a more complicated solution, and they may choose the most simplest one to implement.
Yeah, that will be. It's possible then for others to comment as well who are not present.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the two options we kind of discussed. Both have merit. If one is
Yeah.
picked over the other, it won't block this on a UX kind of improvement basis. But um, yeah, that kind of suggestion. At least we're offering a couple of solutions rather than saying, we're going to make this decision right now. It has to be done this way.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, so to summarize, so we have a consensus adding a description in here, noting the use about the implications of the chosen cardinality in regards of the widgets, and then over here on the widget, provide two options to the people working and people commenting on the thread. Either having dedicated options for checkboxes and radio buttons or that combined one. And in both cases, have the current state of first the active, basically. Oh, no. With a combined option, then have basically two lines. The first line is basically the component type that is active and used, and the second is the cardinality. And in case you have dedicated, you strictly would only need the cardinality. And then for both options, have the edit button, and in the descriptions in there, then point back to the field settings.
Mhm.
Would the summary work for both of you? Not both of you, all the three of you.
Yes, for me.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Yeah. Then I'll write a quick summary of today's discussions and comment on the thread. And then we'll see if anyone picks it up again or comments with further notes. Okie doke. Any last comments or words for today?
No.
Then, yeah. Thanks everyone, and have a nice weekend, and we'll see hopefully next week again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen.
Bye bye.
Thank you.